America is changing from where we live to what we look like, and new data from the U.S. Census is showing us how. NewsNation's Rudabeh Shabazi is live in the newsroom tonight. Rudabeh, what does this report show us about the future of our country?
Well, Marnie, the trove of demographic data compiled by the U.S. Census Bureau will be used to redraw the nation's political maps, but it also provides a fascinating picture of a changing America, as you mentioned, one that became more diverse and urban over the past decade and saw the non-Hispanic white population drop for the first time on record.
Americans continued to migrate to the South and West at the expense of the Midwest and Northeast, according to census figures. But there were population losses in the Mississippi Delta and Appalachia. White people are still the most prevalent racial group, but are aging, falling from 63.7% in 2010 to 57.8% in 2020, the lowest on record, driven by falling birth rates among white women compared with Hispanic and Asian women. However, the share of the white population actually grew in coastal communities in the Carolinas and Virginia, as well as midsections of Georgia and Alabama. Some demographers say the white population isn't actually shrinking as much as shifting to multiracial identities. The number of people who identified as belonging to two or more races more than tripled over the past decade, now accounting for 10% of the population. Measured at 9 million in 2010, now standing at 33.8 million, a 276% increase. The Hispanic population grew by almost a quarter over the decade.
In 2020, the Hispanic or Latino population became the largest racial or ethnic group in California, comprising 39.4% of the total population, up from 37.6% in 2010.
The share of children declined while the share of adults grew. More than 3/4 of the population is now 18 and over. About 80% of metropolitan areas saw population gains as more people in smaller counties moved to larger, more urban counties. The population of metro areas grew by 9% over the last 10 years, resulting in 86% of Americans living in metro areas. The fastest growing one, the villages in Florida, which grew almost 40%.
The country's population is increasingly metropolitan.
So why are these numbers so important? This portrait of America is sure to set off an intense partisan battle over representation at a time of deep national division and fights over voting rights. The numbers could help determine control of the House in the 2022 elections and shape how $1.5 trillion in annual federal spending is distributed. Local leaders could use it to make decisions as to where to build roads and hospitals and even how to respond to natural disasters and future pandemics. Marnie.
The ripple effect across America. Rudabeh, thank you.